like to think of myself as a good father, as a good husband, and as a good friend. And my guess is you like to think of yourself the same way. And I think that if I knew someone or someone reached out to me and needed some help or needed somebody to just hang with them or somehow be a part of that, whatever they were going through, that I'd be quick to say yes. I think most of us would say that that's at least who we want to be, whether we are or not, at least that's who we want to be. And I think we can identify. I saw this video on TikTok I want to share with you from Simon Sinek. I think we can easily identify with this. So let's take a look at it.
Dear friend who's going through a very hard time, my friend Maria. And I went to her house for dinner, and she was telling me about this awful time she went through. And I wanted to be sympathetic, but at the same time, I was really pissed off that she didn't call me. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm here, I love you, I support you. Like, you're always there for me. Why wouldn't you let me be there for you? Like, how selfish are you? Like, you wouldn't let me be there for you. She says to me, I did. I reached out to you a number of times. And I look at my phone, like the text, she goes, want to come over? I'm like, how the heck do I know that that's a cry for help versus every other time you ask me over, which sounds exactly the same? And so she read an article that says that when somebody's struggling, all they need is 8 minutes of help or support from a friend to get them back on track. And so we came up with a code. We write to each other, do you have 8 minutes? It means I need you. And anybody can step out of a meeting for 8 minutes to be there for a friend.
Like I said, I think for most of us, apologize for some of the language, don't get to control what's on TikTok. But I think for some of us, we hear that and we think, well, yeah, I would be that. I would do that. I'm that person. And there's a question that's been around for a long time about relationships. And it's a really simple one, but it's, who is your 3 a.m. friend? Who's your 3 a.m. friend? If your world fell apart, if things got really hairy, if things got out of control, messed up, you were just devastated, it's 3 a.m. in the morning, who are you calling? Who are you calling that you know is not only going to answer, but is actually willing to do something about what's happening in your life right now? Because that 3 a.m. friend, it's just, let's be honest, that's different than the 4 p.m. friend, right? At 4 p.m., it's kind of like, well, yeah, I suppose we can grab some dinner and, hang out a little bit. Maybe I can help you out. I mean, that's convenient. 3 a.m. is not convenient at all. Like, who is your 3 a.m. friend? We're doing this series about relationships, and it's really actually important because for a lot of us, we may not even feel like we have a 3 a.m. friend. And when things are not going well, and when we have questions, and when we're struggling, like a lot of you are this week, we kind of, who do I reach out to? Who do I rely on? Who do I talk to? Where do I go? What we're looking for is a relationship where we feel highly connected. Highly connected, where we know, like if we reach out to them, they're going to reach back to us. And if they reach out to me, I'm going to reach back to them. Like we have this kind of connection. And there's a movie out called The Town. It came out many years ago. I don't recommend it. It's very rough. I'm not telling you to go see that movie. Don't email me. Don't tell me other stuff. But there's a thing that's been rolling around social media forever that describes this kind of relationship. So take a look at this for just a moment.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
There you go. Whose car are we going to take? Now, I am not encouraging you to go out and hurt anybody, although I know some of you feel like doing that this week. But you understand that kind of relationship. I can't tell you what it's about. I can't tell you what we're going to do. But I need your help. Okay, fine. I'm happy to help you. And I think, as strange as that context is, for most of us, we would love to have, and this is an important word, we would love to have the security to know that I have a relationship like that. That I have a relationship like that where no matter what is happening, no matter what is going on, no matter where I am, they will respond to me when they know that I need something, when they know that I need some help. And here's something that's very interesting about this. This is called, in relationship theory and stuff, and I didn't give you this word because when I looked at it, it confused me, but it's called secure attachment theory. Whatever. What it means is you got a 3 a.m. friend. You've got a 3 a.m. friend, and that is the secure attachment theory. But here's the really hard part about it, or I guess the weird part about it, is you don't really get that relationship. You don't get one of those. You don't get a 3 a.m. friend. You can't build that relationship until you already have a secure relationship, which is kind of crazy. Like, I know, and because I've heard this from a lot of folks, this is kind of like when you finish school and you go out looking for a job and you start applying and you start talking to people and you start asking about jobs, and all the jobs you're interested in, all the jobs you're really excited about say experience required. And you're like, well, how can I get experience if you won't hire me? Well, we can't hire you unless you have experience. And you're kind of back and forth. How do I get a 3 a.m. friend if I don't already have one? And for so many of us, I wish it wasn't true. I wish we all had this long list in our phone of all these people and all these secure relationships and all these great connections that we have. But for a lot of us, we're still struggling to find one. We're struggling to find one. And even if we have one, we have no idea how does that one help me develop other kinds of relationships like that? Because that's ultimately what we all want when we talk about great relationships. But I have some good news. I have some actually really good news. Every person, that means you, every person can have one great relationship that will improve all of your relationships. It can happen, it does happen. Every person can have one great relationship that will improve all your relationships. And we're going to read about this today, this morning, in Ephesians chapter 2. If you've got a Bible, I want you to look at Ephesians chapter 2. Ephesians was written by a guy that had become a follower of Jesus, and in becoming a follower of Jesus, it completely changed his life. He was somebody that persecuted Christians, somebody that signed off on martyring Christians, somebody that was terrorizing Christians. His life radically changed when he became a follower of Jesus. And he ends up writing about 2/3 of the New Testament. And we're actually going to talk about that in light of what happened this week in a little bit later in the service. But he writes to these friends of his in Ephesians that lived in the city of Ephesus. And he writes to them and he tells them, listen, when you become a follower of Jesus, it not only changes your life, it changes everything about your life. And so in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 12, we're going to kind of pick it up with kind of how he walks through this. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 12. And he starts off with a very strange idea. He starts off by saying, remember. Remember. Verse 12, remember that at the time you were separated from Christ, excluded from citizenship in Israel, and foreigners to the covenant of the promise. You were without hope and without God in the world. But now in Christ Jesus, you who were once far away have become brought near by the blood of Christ. And if you're not a church person, and if you've never read that before, you might be looking at that and go, what is he talking about? What does that even have to do with anything? Now you got to remember, he is writing to other people that are followers of Jesus. And he's telling them something. He goes, I want you to go back. And as a matter of fact, I want you to go back with me. I want you to go back right now in your mind and remember what it was like before you were a follower of Jesus. And for some of you, that day is today because you're not a follower of Jesus. And so you don't really have to remember that far back. Some of you have been following Jesus for decades. And so it takes a minute to kind of like, what was life like before? Before I was a follower of Jesus, what was my life like? And Paul's contention, again, remember who this guy is, somebody that grew up knowing about God, but also really trying to hurt and persecute and cause problems for people that did follow God. He knew exactly what his life was like before. He felt separated. He felt separated and far apart from God. He felt like he didn't really belong just quite anywhere. That gap between he and God was really never something that could close. Like when he tried, he never made any progress. A lot of times he just gave up trying because he just figured, well, God's up there and I'm down here and God's doing his thing and I'm doing my thing. And so what difference does it make? And underneath all of that was a little bit of a desperation. I don't really even know how to have a connection to God. I don't know what it would look like. I don't even know if I need it, at least until things get hard. And then I need it, but the problem is I don't know how to have it, and so I don't have it. And so again, I feel that separation. And what happens, watch this, is every time you try to develop that kind of relationship and you don't know how and you don't have it, it chips away at something really, really important. It chips away at your hope. Your hope for the future. your hope for your relationships, your hope for any kind of connection with God, for your hope for your life to have any kind of meaning and not feel like you're just going through the motions and doing stuff and you don't know why your relationships don't work and you don't know why you feel anxious and you don't know why nothing is going the way it's supposed to go. And that hope just keeps getting chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. Remember what it was like. He's doing this on purpose. Because if you're a follower of Jesus, he's asking you to go back and remember for a very important reason. It's remembering that strengthens the connection. When you remember what it was like before, it impacts how things are now. I remember what it was like when I didn't have hope. I remember what it was like when I felt like I was an outsider, when I wasn't included, when I had no place where I belonged, when anxiety kind of ruled the day for me. I remember what that was like. And I didn't like it. But it seemed at the time, and especially if you're not a follower of Jesus today, it seems like, but that is an impossible gap. How am I supposed to get over that gap? There is no way, easy way to do that. But Paul says, but if you do, when you do, you become like family. You become included. And when you remember how it felt to be excluded, all of a sudden being included seems really, really different and powerful. It was about 2 summers ago, maybe 3. Phoenix summer, so it was awful. It was horrible. It's June. It's hot. My mom had died right around Christmas, so about 6 months before. And I went up to my dad's house. He lives in Heber, which is about 2.5, 3 hours northeast of here. And I was driving up. And you know, you're processing everything. I hadn't really seen Dad and hadn't had a chance to talk to him and stuff. And, you know, I'm driving up. And one, I'm kind of like, I'm glad to get out of the heat. 2, I'm like, it's going to be weird being in the house and Mom's not there. And, you know, just all the stuff. But I want to be there for Dad and I want to hang with him. And I did something that at the time I didn't think anything of it. But now when I look back, I think, man, that was kind of weird. I drove up and I got out of the car and his house is kind of on a mountain, so it's a couple of stories. And so I parked and I went up onto the big deck out front and I just opened the front door and walked in. This is my dad's house, you know. And I looked around and he's not anywhere. And I had been driving 2 or 3 hours, you know, and I was kind of thirsty. And so I went over to the fridge and got something to drink and, you know, started wandering around. And I figured, oh, he's probably down in the garage. He's got a basement garage where he works on cars and stuff. And so I went down the back stairs and went down the garage and saw him in there. And he's working on something. He heard me coming down the steps and he kind of looks up and I look at him and hit the first words out of his mouth. Not, who let you in the house? Who are you? What are you doing? None of those things. He goes, why didn't you bring me one? You know, like that was his whole thing. Like, you didn't bring me anything to drink? Like, you did all this? I was in my family's house. Would you ever do anything like that in your friend's house? Like, no matter how good your friend is, would you just walk in their front door, open their fridge, get stuff out, and start wandering around their house? Like, most of us are like, no. Some of you have a weird relationship with your friend where you're like, yeah, that'd be fine, you know. But for most of us, we're like, no. That's reserved for family, right? When I am at my daughter's house, when I am at my in-laws' house, when I am at my dad's house, it's different. I'm not a guest. I'm family. I have family rights. I can go anywhere. I don't have to ask permission. Now, I want to be thoughtful and considerate and all that other stuff, but I don't have to knock on the door. I can go to the fridge. I can get a glass out of the cabinet because I'm family. Paul's saying, do you remember what it was like when you're family? He talks about this in verse 17. Skip down with me. He says, he came, he's talking about Jesus. He came and he preached peace to you who were far away and peace to those who were near. For through him we both have access to the Father by one Spirit. Consequently, this is so important. You are no longer foreigners and strangers, but fellow citizens with God's people and members of his household. That gap, that separation, that shrinking hope, that all went away. And not only did it go away because you were reconciled back to God, but it went away and it was replaced with something else. It was replaced with belonging. Now you belong. You're part of the family. And that is why he's asking them to remember. It seemed impossible. It seemed like there's no way this could happen. It seemed like it was too far gone. And Paul says, but what Jesus did, and we're going to talk about what Jesus did. What Jesus did made you family. You went from being on the outside to being on the inside. You went from not belonging to having a place. And everything changed because of that. And it's important, if you're a follower of Jesus, to remember that. Because that is the root of every good relationship that you will ever have. It starts with that. It starts with Jesus reaching out to you. It starts with Jesus reaching back for you and you responding to him. And when you remember, all of a sudden, it begins to define all your other relationships. I don't know if you've ever wondered about this. What does God think about you? I don't know if you ever thought about that. When God thinks of you, what does he think? Now, some of you, you're kind of more on the confident side, and you're like, oh, he likes me. Like, we're friends, man. We're good. Some of you, maybe more on the negative side, he's shaking his head. He wishes he hadn't, and it was a mess, and I'm a problem, and all that other. And a lot of you are somewhere in the middle. You're kind of like, he probably kind of okay, but, just kind of fly under the radar. Don't want to cause any waves, and he's probably proud of me, when I graduated and stuff. He was probably proud of me, like my dad or something. And a lot of times, we just don't really have a good answer. What does God think about when he thinks about you? There is actually an answer. And I want to share it with you because I think this may be the thing that transforms your life. Because if you do not know what God thinks about you when he thinks about you, you need to know. You need to know how important a relationship with you is to him. There's an ancient king in the Old Testament. His name was Solomon. Solomon was the wisest. He was the richest. He was everything was the biggest. He was the best known of all the kings in Israel and potentially probably all the kings in the world. And at some point during his reign, he realized, I want to build a temple to honor God. And so it became a national project. The whole nation of Israel got together and got behind this. And it was a point of pride. It was a point of excitement. It was something that the people were really looking forward to. And they donated the best materials they had. I mean, gold and silver and the finest wood and everything they had that was good. They donated all that. And the best craftsmen, not like the guys that could just kind of put up a house. They're the best, the very best they had were in charge of helping build this thing. And it was a several-year process. I mean, this was a big, big deal. And they finally get it all built, and they finally get it done, and it's just amazing and incredible. And they have what they call a consecration ceremony. They get everybody together, and this is the first time they're going to use the temple, if you want to think of it that way. And so they've gathered everybody, they've put all this together, they put their best out there, and in some ways, they're doing everything they can to reach out to God. They're saying, God, we built this place for you. God, we want to worship you here. God, we're praying that you would meet us here. God, we see this as yours, and we see ourselves as your people. God, we're reaching out to you. We're asking you, God, would you come and meet us here? So this is a big deal. And they spend the whole day celebrating, worshiping, doing all of the things. And then, once everything had died down, once it got too dark to keep the party going, once most of the people had gone home, Solomon goes home, the king. And as he's sitting in his room, and it's dark, and it's quiet, he hears from God. And God speaks to him. And what God tells Solomon is just as relevant for you as it was for those Israelites several thousand years ago. And we're going to put it up on the screen, and we're going to leave it up on the screen. It's 1 Kings 9:3. So you can imagine the whole day, everything that's happened and all that's going on. And God speaks to Solomon. He says, the Lord said to him, and we're going to take this apart piece by piece. This is so important for you. The Lord said to him, I have heard the prayer and plea you have made before me. So just stop. What does God think about you? Every time you have ever uttered any kind of prayer, request, question, encouragement, anger, whatever it is, anytime you have ever spoken to God, he's heard you. And that's not a threat, that's a comfort. He is listening to you always. Every time, whether you spoke it out loud, thought it in your head, wrote it on a piece of paper, however it was that you had any kind of prayer or plea to God, he was right there listening, and he heard it. He heard it. I have consecrated this temple. Now, consecrated is a little bit of a Bible word and a little bit of an odd word. What does that mean? It means he accepted it, but it also means something else. The people gathered and asked God to meet them at the temple, and God said yes. He took action. So keep this for you too. Everything you've ever said, he's heard. And he's taken action. He has taken action. He responds. It may not be the way you want. It may not even be something you understand in the moment, but he listens and he responds. Think about this in terms of a relationship. Think about this if you're a parent, if you're married, if you've got a close friend, that every time they've said something you've heard and you've always responded to them. This is the context of a relationship. And then he says, which you have built, and he's talking about the temple, by putting my name there forever. I put my name on it. I'm claiming it. That matters to me. That's important to me. He's heard every word you said. He's taken action. He put his name on you. He claims you. He cares about you. He claims you. He wants to put his name on you. What does God think about when he thinks about me? He thinks about listening to me. He thinks about taking action on my behalf. He thinks about putting his name on me because he claims me. I mean, this is crazy language. This is not a transaction. This is emotional investment. And if that wasn't enough, look where he goes next. He goes, my eyes will be there forever. He sees. You know, one of the biggest struggles that people have these days, they feel like they're not seen. And do you know what your Father, your Creator says to you? I'm listening to you. I'm taking action on behalf of you. I put my name on you, and I see you. I see you. I see what's going on in your world. I see what's going on in your life. I see how your emotions are going crazy. I see what you're worried about. I see what you're doing so well. I see you. I am watching. I am attentive to you. And if you've ever wondered, is God emotionally invested in this relationship? My heart will always be there. What does God think about when he thinks about you? He thinks about somebody he's emotionally invested in. He thinks about someone he can't take his eye off of. He thinks about someone that he has claimed as his own. He thinks about someone that he is more than willing to take action on behalf of them. And he thinks about someone that he loves to listen to. That's what God thinks about when he thinks about you. He has reached out to you. He has reached back for you. You see, God, he initiates a relationship with you. He responds to your pursuit of him, and he commits even emotionally to you. God created your emotions. He wants you to have them. He wants them to be part of this relationship because he's invested 100% in this relationship with you. And it really begs the question. He's reached out. He's reached back. How have you responded? For those of you that are followers of Jesus, you remember what it was like. And that remembrance, that gives you a sense of, you know what, I am securely attached to him now. If you're not, there's no better thing you can do this morning than come to a conclusion around what am I going to do about this? If that's how he thinks about me, if that's how he reaches out to me, and that's how he's reaching back to me, how will I respond to this? Because it changes everything. It even changes your relationships. After all, that's kind of what we're talking about today. And so I want you to do me a favor. I want you to take a moment and think about your most important relationships. If you're married, hopefully that includes your spouse. If you're a parent, hopefully that includes your kids. If you got friends, you got your own parents, whatever it is. I want you to think for just a moment and not just think about them, not just list them off. I want you to see faces. See their faces right now. Hear their voices. Think about the things that they say and do that you love and the things that they say and they do that they really bother you. You know, the whole package, because it's a relationship. How does that relationship end up great? It only happens in one way. You have to have a great relationship first before you can ever have great relationships with other people. And Jesus gives us a model for this. And I'm going to use kind of that social science theory language for just a moment. What it's asking you to do, if you want to change the relationship in your life, because you've begun this relationship with him and you're following him, he wants that to impact the relationships you have with other people. Well, what do? You give attachment away. What does that mean? Give attachment away. All the ways that Jesus has attached himself to you, you do the same thing for someone else. You do the same thing. You pay attention. You emotionally invest. You get present. And we're going to walk through a couple of specifics just to kind of give you some ideas. But the emphasis is very simple. You have now received this incredible expression of what a healthy, great relationship looks like between you and Jesus, what he has done, the death he has died, the resurrection he has provided life for you. And now that you see this, and now that you've experienced this, you just reflect that back to those relationships that are so important to you. That's what will make them great. So you give attachment away. How do you do that? What does that even look like? First thing, give them your presence. Give them your presence. And I know this is hard, and I know this isn't exactly, earth-shattering or anything like that, but it can be as simple as just don't be on your phone when you're talking to them. Just don't be reading something else when they're with you. Just don't be watching your screen and have your headphones in and try to have a conversation with them all at the same time. Just give them your presence the same way he has given his presence to you. He said, I'm with you. My eyes are on you. I have made you a focus and a priority. So you do the same thing. Give them your presence. Second thing, and again, these aren't like never heard of this, never really figured this out before. Give them your care. Give them your care. When you see, because you're watching, when you see that they need encouragement, you encourage them. When you see that they're doing well, you congratulate them. When you see that they're struggling, and you get outside yourself for just a minute, because this is really the hardest thing for all of us, is to set my stuff aside for just a moment and look and see, what does their stuff look like? How could I help with that? How could I encourage them? How could I hold them up? How could I support them? Instead of worrying about my stuff and why my stuff isn't getting fixed and addressed and how come she has it and he doesn't and they won't and, nobody seems to care about me instead, and nobody's paying attention to me, nobody's focusing on me, nobody's helping me fix my stuff. Set your stuff aside for just a moment. Well, what does their stuff look like? How can I do something about their stuff? So give them your care. And then finally, last one, very simple, very straightforward. Give them your heart. Just like God has done for you. Give them your heart. When they're sad, be sad with them. When they're celebrating, celebrate with them. When they're bummed out, be bummed out with them. When they're bored, sit around and be bored with them. Give them your heart. Emotionally engage with them. And none of these things are really in and of themselves all that powerful. And be honest with you, you could go pick up any relationship blog or any relationship book, and they would tell you the exact same thing. And you're like, well, what does that have to do with following Jesus? That's where the power comes. Because you've seen it. And you've experienced it. And because you know what it looks like to move from being an outsider to an insider. You know what it's like to have hope restored and rebuilt in you. You know what it's like to be in the family where you can just walk in and get something out of the fridge and wander downstairs because you belong. And when you use that context because of what God has done for me, now I can live that way in the relationships in my life. All of a sudden, those relationships move towards greatness. And that's the opportunity that you have today. So I want to invite you. Remember back, for those of you that are followers of Jesus. Remember what it was like. That's exactly what Paul is calling you to do. Do you remember? Do you remember how hard it was? Do you remember how strange it felt? Do you remember how little hope you had? Because when you remember that, it strengthens your connection to him. Look at what he's done for me. And it motivates and changes. His love changes your heart that I want to do that for somebody else. And I got a special word for those of you that aren't yet a follower of Jesus. You see, he's emotionally invested in you. His eyes are on you. His heart is with you. He's listened to you every time you've ever spoken to him. He has reached out and reached back so many times, and today is another example. The reason you're here, the reason you are hearing this is because it is God reaching out to you one more time and saying, I want a relationship with you. I've sent my son. He has died. He has been crucified. He has been buried. He has been raised again to new life so that you can be forgiven, that gap can be closed, that you can become part of the family, and that you can have hope. It will change you, and it will change all your relationships as a side benefit. And if you're not a follower of Jesus, I'm going to pray in just a moment. And I'm going to give you some words that you may want to pray. Today's the day. He's invested in you. He wants you to be part of the family. Why would you settle for anything less? He's reaching out. He's reaching back. How are you going to respond? Let's pray together. For those of you that aren't followers of Jesus, do you think about what's going on in your world and your life? You realize, I want the gap closed. I want to be connected again. You can certainly use your own words, but if you're not quite sure how to pray or what to pray, I want to give you a sample prayer that you can just pray along quietly in your heart. God, thank you for reaching out to me. I believe that Jesus has covered my sins and can give me new life. I want him to be the Lord and leader of my life. God, I trust you. And I pray that you would refill me and heal what's broken in me. That you wash away the failures and fill me with hope. I pray that you would do this in Jesus' name.